morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Thursdays 13, and we are also covering general news that I just found, or we found, scrolling through our news feeds. Let's go ahead and start Before Coffee with our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, EU court fines Hungary 200 million euros over its asylum policy.
And the UN Security Council unanimously approves U.S. peace plan, and we have floods in South Florida.
One visitor too many, and Efteling has to close. The amusement park comes very close to a dangerous border. And also in Scotland, Taylor Swift fans triggered earthquake monitors in Edinburgh.
And are you in one of the world's richest countries? We'll find out on Thursdays 13.
Sociologist Thijs Bol. We have the illusion that success is a choice by the Dutch Times.
And it's National Weed Your Garden Day. So get out there on your knees with them gloves and that pulling weeds in there. Because you want to eat naturally on June 13th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Okay, welcome to our first news story about Hungary. If anyone knows anything about Hungary, they know the leader, Orbán, isn't very pro-European, pro-immigration, and pro-religious freedoms. Or not religious freedom, sorry. Bodily anatomy, I think. He's pushing the far right, even more right, I guess, or how right can the EU be before they just kick him out of the European Council? I don't know. I'm expecting it to happen someday because he just keeps on pushing that farther and farther, pushing how far he can break all of the things the EU stands for. And finally, he's getting
somebody else.
One of his policies is getting fined for breaking the EU court's expectations of the countries that are in their union. This is from Mallory Monch on BBC News. Hungary Prime Minister Viktor Orbán called the fine outrageous and unacceptable. Yeah, because everyone's always like, oh, I get to pay a fine? I'm excited. The European Union's top court has fined Hungary 200 million euros or 169 million pounds for failing to follow the union's asylum policies. The court will issue a penalty of 1 million euros a day until it changes its policy. The European Court of Justice said Budapest was in a breach of the 2020 judgment that it had violated EU laws by forcing asylum seekers to travel to Belgrade or Kyiv to apply for a travel permit to enter Hungary. You need to go all the way to a place that you'll probably get murdered in just so you can come over here. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, in a post on Twitter, said the fine for defending the borders of the European Union was outrageous and unacceptable, and said it seems that illegal migrants are more important to the Brussels bureaucrat than their own European citizens. People aren't illegal. I will say this forever. People are not illegal. The earth belongs to all of us, not just to the people who have a military. Hungary has taken a hard line on migrants from outside the EU, since more than 1 million people entered the country in 2015, most fleeing war in Syria. If you don't want people to flee war, don't have them. You should use all your pressures as a government to say, hey, stop having a war over there and be peaceful. Hungarian government erected border fences to try to stop many from crossing. The EU law states that everyone fleeing prosecution in their home country has the right to ask for international protection. It cannot be removed to their home if there is a serious risk of death or torture. In a 2017 picture, a Hungarian police officer patrols the border with Serbia, where asylum seekers were detained in shipping containers. Just more proof that people don't see migrants as people, just objects to put in a shipping container. In a press release on Thursday, which was June 13th, the EU court said Hungary deliberately avoided applying EU policy, and its failure constitutes an unprecedented and extremely serious infringement of EU law. The failure included the country unlawfully detaining people applying for international protection and not respecting their right to remain in Hungary until an appeal on their application was exhausted, the court said. The court said Hungary's failure to follow EU laws passed responsibly on to other EU countries and undermined solidarity. Yes, that's very important. If you're in a union, you have to make sure we all have the same idea of what is happening. If we can't agree on that, maybe somebody should not be in it. Does Hungary want to leave the union? Do they have a Hexit running campaign? I'm just really confused about this. A new EU policy on asylum that aims to speed up the asylum process requires member countries to either take in thousands of migrants from frontline nations such as Italy, Greece, and Spain, or provide extra funding or resources instead. In response, Hungary vowed to take any regular migrants regardless of any pact. Hungary will take over the rotating presidency of the EU on July 1st. Yes, they have a rotating presidency. Whoever the leader of a country is, of the EU member states, they get rotated through. So he's just the next one, and we'll see what's going to happen when it comes to that. Onto your story.
Okay, well, that was quick.
Yeah.
Of course, we did the chart a couple of weeks ago.
Or at least I try.
We did the Thursday 13 a couple of weeks ago, where we had the countries losing population only to be replaced by immigration. So these countries probably should watch out what they do when they we don't want any immigrants because your workforce isn't being replaced. And as people die off, we've talked about this before. Unskilled workers, skilled workers, whatever you got, these employers need them. And they're just be looking for applicants that aren't there.
Yep.
Because you never had anybody and never replaced your young population. There's nobody there anymore. Good luck with your business as it fails. And in U.S. or in other news today, we're going to try to squeeze two stories together. This one happened a few days ago. The UN Security Council, this is from AlJazeera.com. That's a widely reported story. UN Security Council endorses U.S.-sponsored Gaza ceasefire resolution. 14 countries vote for the resolution, which welcomes Gaza's ceasefire proposal as Russia abstains. So Russia didn't even vote, they just abstained. So even got China. U.S. even got China on their side for this. United Nations Security Council has adopted a resolution endorsing U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal that aims at end Israel's 8-month war assault on Gaza. The vote in the United States was 14-0, as they covered again. The resolution welcomes a 3-phase ceasefire proposal announced by U.S. President Joe Biden last month, which calls for an initial six-week ceasefire in exchange for some Israeli captives held in Gaza for Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails. The second phase would include permanent ceasefire and the release of remaining captives. The third phase would involve a reconstruction effort for the devastated Gaza Strip. The U.S. says Israel has accepted the proposal, although some Israeli officials have since promised to continue war until the elimination of Hamas, the Palestinian group that covers Gaza. Well, good luck. Here's a little hint for you. The more you kill your enemy and innocent people, bystanders, here's a little secret, might let you in on being part of a world superpower for a while. You create more enemies. So if you're just going to think you're going to bomb your enemies in this oblivion, guess what? You're pissing off a whole lot of people that survived it. You're going to kill everybody? Really? Israel is going to kill everybody on Earth.
Tons of Palestinians who are not even living in Palestine anymore.
Accept peace. Accept peace. Go to the peace table. Give the Palestinians their own country and go home. Anyway, that's my little... In South Florida, after a rare flash flood emergency, Florida prepares for more heavy rainfall in coming days. This goes for 9 to 12 minutes. We're going to cut it down. This is from Kurt Anderson and Freda Cesaro of AP News. A tropical disturbance has brought rare flash flood emergency to much of southern Florida. Oh, it ain't going to be rare for much longer, buddy. As residents prepared to weather more heavy rainfall on Thursday and Friday. Wednesday's downpours and subsequent flooding blocked roads, floated vehicles, and delayed the Florida Panthers on their way to Stanley Cup games in Canada and Edmonton Oilers. You know what's enjoyable about this? Not that I like to see people getting flooded. It's that Florida keeps voting against their own best interests. Keep putting, fascists in Congress, which elects a fascist governor that only cares about profits, and they get their just desserts by getting flooded. And people go there and go, oh, it's a paradise. And then they find out they got to buy a house and a rowboat. You can't just buy a house. You got to buy a house and a rowboat.
And they won't give you flooding insurance there either because you're going to get flooded.
Yeah, flood insurance is going to be fun to get. Yeah. Put your house on stakes as soon as you buy it, unless it's on stakes already. Because Florida's going underwater, folks. It's just a matter of time. It ain't going to slow down. You've already ruined the planet with all your bad politics. There you are. The disorganized storm system was pushing across Florida from the Gulf of Mexico at roughly the same time as early June, start of hurricane season, which this year is forecast to be among the most active. Boy, that's kind of a trend, huh? In recent memory, amid concerns that climate change is increasing storm intensity. You think? The disturbance has not reached cyclone status and was given only a slight chance to form into a tropical system once it emerges into the Atlantic Ocean after crossing Florida, according to the National Hurricane Center. The National Weather Service of Miami noted that in a post on social media Thursday that a band of heavy rainfall is expected to fall over a region for a third day in a row. Even a small duration of heavy rainfall could lead to more flash flooding, the post said. Numerous roads remain flooded and impassable for vehicles on major artery Interstate 95 in Broward County. Southbound traffic was being diverted around a flooded section, and contractors were on their way to pump the drainage system. The Florida Highway Patrol said. Life-threatening flooding is ongoing. The service said on social media, please stay off the roads and get to higher ground. Of course, Florida has no higher ground unless you go into a building, and that's not the ground, that's a building. So, Florida, the one state that's going to get hurt the most, it's one of the most populated states in America. It's going to get hurt the most because it's all at sea level or below. And most of the people there, well, people go there to retire. I wouldn't say most of the people. It's a retirement place, right? So you got a bunch of unambulatory people being flooded out of their homes. And Florida creates their own soup and they're living in it. So if you live in Florida, stay above ground. This ain't going to be the last time this year you do this. It might be one of the first 10 times this year you do this. It's going to be a fun summer. As they say, hurricane season is going to be stronger than normal. And normal is going up and up and up every year.
Yep.
So back to you.
I mean, it's going to be fun, but still stay safe, you know? Don't take any risks you don't have to. Like living in Florida.
Yeah, there's a risk right there. Back to you.
Okay. I'm also going to do a double news drop here. We're going to talk about two things. First, Efteling. Now, Efteling is a Dutch amusement park that's based on old fairy tales and nursery rhymes, and it has that kind of medieval feeling to it with witches and just that kind of feeling, right? Medieval witches and stuff like that, and fairies and elves. And it's probably the most popular amusement park in the Netherlands, and it looks like it is filling up to the top and almost completely full, that they're gonna start having to say, sorry, you can't enter until 3 more people leave the park. This is on Nieuwsblad by MTM. Is there a threat of forced closure for Efteling? The annual figures show that the Dutch amusement park came very close to the maximum number of visitors allowed last year. Its popularity is still increasing. We are keeping a close eye on everything. The current nature permit for the amusement park at Kaatsheuvel, which is also very popular in the country, states that the maximum of 5 million visitors are allowed per year. Since Efteling is located near the Loens and Dunesdown National Park. Basically, it's a huge national park, nature preserve, which a bunch of sand dunes down in our sand dunes. This number must absolutely not be exceeded. As soon as the maximum is exceeded by one person, the park will be forced to close, high season or not. Look at them taking care of the environment, trying to stop that human pollution. In 2019, 5.3 million people even went to Efteling, although the park did not have to close at that time. This has to do with the counting method, which only takes individual visitors into account. For example, hotel guests who visit the park several times during their stay are only counted once because they only make a polluting trip to Efteling once. Yeah, they're worried about getting a bunch of car engine gas into the air and ruining the clean air quality of the dunes. Nevertheless, the problem is becoming increasingly acute. In 2022, the park attracted 4.7 million individual visitors. Last year, this rose to more than 4.9 million, and there's a good chance that 5 million mark will be executed this year. We keep a close eye on everything. Efteling spokesperson Nina Houwenkels respond in Algemeen Dagblad. As soon as the limit actually comes into view, we will take logical measures, she stated, without specifying which measures were involved. This year, the province of North Brabant threatened a penalty of 20 euros per additional visitor, something that they seem willing to pay at Efteling. Closing is not an option. It was previously stated, if necessary, we'll pay the fine. They must be making way more than 20 per person, right? It's like, if we can make way more than 20 per person, we can pay that fine. We'll still make a profit somehow, hopefully. The Dutch amusement park is also applying for a new nature permit. If approved, the park will be able to receive 6 million individual visitors in the future. However, it is not clear at the moment what a decision will be made in the case. I think they should start getting those really cool carbon scrubbers that we saw, I think, a few weeks back. We talked about them. Then they can say, hey, we can have more people because we have these carbon scrubbers to keep the air fresh. And maybe it'll be worth the investment to buy one. Don't know. But it's really interesting. And then, of course, let's talk about another packed venue. This is On the National by Lucy Jackson. The enthusiastic dancing by tens of thousands of Taylor Swift fans at her record-breaking concerts in Edinburgh picked up on earthquake monitors. Nearly 70,000 Swifties attended each of the 3 concerts at Murrayfield Stadium from Friday to Sunday, Friday being June 7th to June 9th, and their rapturous reception for the star meant earthquake readings were detected up to 3.7 miles away. The British Geological Survey, BGS, said fans on the first night of the UK leg of Swift's Mammoth International Eras Tour generated the most seismic activity, with spikes caused by dancing particularly evident during her songs Cruel Summer, Ready for It, and, of course, Shake It Off. The earthquake monitors recorded fans dancing in time to music and reached a peak of 160 beats per minute during Ready for It, with BGS saying the crowd is transmitting around 80 kilowatts of energy, equivalent to around 6,000 car batteries. You know what? We should put kinetic floors on arenas, and then which should power our cities with the people jumping to music and dancing to music on the floor. I'm sure you can do it. It's not going to be efficient, but you could probably generate a lot of energy. They have the same kind of technology on some car roads here in the Netherlands and bike roads. As the kinetic cars rub against the road, right, you generate some kinetic energy and transfer that into batteries. The 4-minute applause during champagne problems the same night also caused a spike on the monitors. A similar pattern occurred on all 3 nights, with Friday's recording 23.4 nanometers of movement compared to the 22.8 nanometers on Saturday and 23.3 nanometers on Sunday. So they got the max on the opening night. The seismic activity from the concerts was detected at 2 modern stations, the furthest of which was 3.7 miles away at the BGS office in Lyle Center. Earthquake monitors have recorded activity during other dates on the Eras Tour, including in Los Angeles and Seattle in the US. Callum Harrison, BGS seismologist, said, BGS is the national body responsible for recording earthquakes to inform the government, public, individuals and regulators, and allow it for a greater understanding of earthquake risk planned for future events. It's amazing that we've been able to measure the reaction of thousands of concert goers remotely through our data. The opportunity to explore seismic activity created by a different kind of phenomenon has been a thrill. Clearly, Scotland's reputation for providing some of the most enthusiastic audience remains well intact. The BGS said the vibrations generated by the concert are unlikely to have been felt by anyone other than those in the immediate vicinity. Edinburgh City Council approved an increase to the seating capacity to 72,990 for each night, and Swift thanks fans for breaking the all-time attendance record for a stadium show in Scotland 3 times in a row. The US superstar plays first of the 3 nights in Anfield Stadium in Liverpool on Thursday, which is today, June 13th, and then and then we'll move on to Cardiff and London after that. She will then play nights in Dublin, and after a host of shows in Europe, will return to London in August and the UK and European stint of the tour, which is estimated to be worth £1 billion to the UK economy. I do wonder where else they're going in Europe, but probably here. Maybe I'll feel some earthquakes rumbling from all the way in Amsterdam. But there's your 2 stories. Efteling is all full up, so get there. If you're in the Netherlands, get there while you can. And I guess check out some earthquake level crowd work in the Eras Tour for Taylor Swift.
All right. Shake it off, as they say.
Yep.
All right, so it's time for Thursday 13. And have you ever wondered how rich the country you live in it actually is? Yeah, they got rich people, but what is the per capita GDP? GDP, of course, measures not wealth that you're keeping in the bank, but wealth that your country is producing. So you say your GDP grows by 7%. That's a meaningless statistic because you don't even know what it was in the first place. It's just a conglomeration of a whole bunch of information to tell you how much your economy is producing. And when they compare different countries, they have to do it by population. So they have to do per capita. And this is from a website called World Meters. World Meter, www.worldmeters.info. And they rank all countries that they consider countries. Some of them aren't even countries, but they got 179 in it. Actually, 176 with actual numbers, and a bunch of them that don't have any data. And this is the data collected in 2022. So here we go, the 13 richest countries. Right here. The 13 richest countries. Let me get the camera up.
Hell yeah. Let's get these countries down.
All right, the richest country in the world per capita. Luxembourg. Luxembourg is the richest. And according to this chart, they are 689% times the average GDP in the world, which is, for our chart purposes here, number 73 is Thailand, right ahead of China, and they are the one who are right on the average with 20,672 per person. So I got this in front of my face. You probably can't hear me. But anyway, there's your first, Luxembourg. Number 2, if you live in Singapore, you're doing way better than most people in the world. Even if you're poor, you're doing way better than most people in the world. Number 3, Ireland. Did you expect to see Ireland?
Wow, really?
Countries? Really, yes. Their GDP per capita outstrips every country in the world except Singapore and Luxembourg. Number 4 richest country per capita, Norway. Now this one, these countries with small populations make sense.
Yeah.
If you have a good seaport, you're collecting
oil.
What do they call them? Taxes.
They have oil off the coast of the North Sea.
You're collecting tariffs and fees. You run a ferry landing, anything. You're just making money off other countries. That adds to your GDP. Norway, number 4. Number 5 is our first Middle Eastern country. You would expect these all towards the top, right? Because all the billionaires. Qatar, or Qatar, as some people call it.
Qatar is how they say it.
And
like
another country, this is not an actual country, but the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, countries like that, they are number 6 and the richest in the world. No surprise there. Lots of oil. Number 7 is Switzerland, the banking capital of the world, they say. I don't know if it is anymore. But it would make sense
Making
that
all
the
that
banking
money off
capital
that
has
Nazi
lots of money.
gold.
And Nazi gold, yes. They got Anne Frank's gold teeth melted in.
I don't think she had gold
exploit
teeth.
that. I'm just throwing that out
Don't
there.
think she had any fillings.
Your most famous Holocaust victim had to die so Switzerland could have a hygiene. No, don't feel guilty about it, Switzerland. You probably don't, so I'm wasting my breath. Anyway, number 8 is the United States. I've heard of this place. The United States is 8th in GDP per capita, as everybody here whines constantly about everything. Anyway, number 9, Denmark. Not really surprised, Norway's on the list. Denmark's completely surrounded by water, and that's one of those most advantageous, right? Except for their one connection to mainland is through Sweden, right? Or through Norway, right? Norway. Yeah. So, no surprise, seaports do pretty well. They really do. Number 10, you know this place. The Netherlands. The Netherlands is the 10th richest country of per capita GDP. Yes, number 10. So there you go. Go out and celebrate. Dance in the streets. You're rich. You're made the top 10. Number 11, Brunei.
Agricultural exports from the Netherlands. The majority. Right. So, yeah.
Right. And they probably know how to turn they already know how to turn a buck. So I think
they invented the stock market. Thanks a lot.
Right. They know how to turn a buck into $2. Anyway, Brunei is number 11. Don't know much about Brunei.
Let's look up some facts about Brunei.
Iceland, number 12. Brunei, there you go. Iceland, which is kind of surprising. I don't know if they got a whole lot of industry coming out of Iceland, but everybody there is doing pretty well. It's got to be a lot of the trade. A lot of the international trade goes through there, is my guess. They don't have a lot of people, too, so that helps with the per capita. If there's one trillionaire there, they got if there's one billionaire in Iceland, that probably puts them to the top of the list.
That's
right?
enough,
I don't know if there's any billionaires there. Yeah. And the 13th, the last, because I ran out of space, Hong Kong, which isn't really a country. It belongs to China.
Interesting that.
So Hong Kong, which has always been
very interesting. So there's only what? 5? What? Show me the list again. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 7 European countries. Then there's technically the Middle East is Asia, so that's 3 or 4 Asian countries, and then I guess the U.S. and that's it. That does not equal 13. But.
Your Asian country, your Far Eastern country on here is Hong Kong.
And Brunei.
And of course, the list goes a lot.
I have your fact about Brunei.
Oh,
since we didn't know a lot about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Its official name is Brunei Darussalam. Its capital city is Bandar Seri Begawan. Its population is only 491,000 people. Its area is only 5,000 square kilometers. The major languages they speak is Malay and English. They're in UTC +8 time. They're a small country, so they're very similar to Luxembourg, if you think about it. Switzerland, Luxembourg, very small country. It's located on the island of Borneo in Asia, and it's the 4th smallest country in Asia after Singapore, Bahrain, and the Maldives. So there's your one fun fact about Brunei. They do have a monument built.
Are they a tax haven like Luxembourg?
Yeah. They do have a monument built for their billionth barrel of oil, so it looks like they make a lot of money off of oil exports. They were lucky enough to be... Sorry?
Lucky in love. I don't know.
Well, no, they're lucky enough to...
They're lucky in love.
They have the Sierra oil field, which reached its billionth barrel in 1991. So they've only been...
Whoa, there you go.
They've been making barrels since then. So... There you go.
Okay, so
oil is still the big
if you wonder if your
moneymaker of the
country's
world.
on the list, any countries you want to know on the list, China, we want to go by popular countries. China is number 72, just barely above the average.
What about the United Kingdom?
The median country, the UK is
because Hong Kong
27th.
27th, okay. Because Hong Kong used to be, right? a colony of the UK, and they're also part of China. So both those countries are way lower than Hong Kong. Hong Kong's higher than them.
Right, because Hong Kong is so well located. Being near water is a big boon to your economy, unless you have
for
these
sure. Getting all those trade tariffs.
If you got a seaport, you got to have a sea. You got to have a seaport. You can't just be near water. If you're just near water, it's just a waste. Otherwise, unless you have a seaport for economic reasons.
I mean, Rotterdam is the largest port in Europe, and where is it located? The Netherlands. So, that's why they're number 10.
Yeah. Right. They're going to make a lot of money towards the economy. The 14th country is Austria, just missing. Germany settles in at 17th.
Oh, that's not
Australia,
too bad.
the only Oceania country in the top 20 is Australia at 18. Saudi Arabia is way down at 20, just behind Bahrain. Canada checks in at 22. France is at 25. Italy's at 29. Economies that probably should be doing better. South Africa is way down at 92, which is considering all the wealth they've generated just off subjugating their population. You'd think they would have been more industrialized and able to take advantage, but no, they're below the world average, just below Paraguay. If you live in Paraguay, you probably have, I'm really poor, but you're richer than the average person in South Africa. So count your blessings.
Yeah, good job, Paraguay.
So, well, yeah, and again, Paraguay is a very liberal country, letting immigrants come in whenever they want to. So they're doing better than South Africa, which has years. Well, they're not in apartheid anymore, but
I think it'll probably take 100 years from apartheid for them to get back to being not fucked up. Or maybe not. Look at America. So
they just give all their money to the poor people. All right, that's your story. The 13th richest countries based on GDP in 2022. Your mileage may vary since 2 years ago, but they haven't compiled data for this year, and last year probably they're still compiling it. At least this website isn't. So back to you.
All right, well, speaking of successful economies or GDP, success is not really a choice. This is from sociologist Thijs Bol from the Dutch Times. Grabbing machines at the fair and adjusted price in such a way that the gripping arm only occasionally at random times closes completely around the cuddly toy you're trying to remove. You have to do your best to get the arm in the right place. But after that, it's a matter of luck, so everyone who does their best has an equal chance, right? However, not so much. Because some people can afford to keep throwing euros into the machine endlessly, and others are finished after 1 or 2 coins and can't even get started. That is the essence of the effect of randomness on the role of chance in inequality. The inaugural lecture that sociologist Thijs Bol gave at the end of May on his 39th birthday to accept his professorship at the University of Amsterdam, happiness is unevenly distributed. After 6 years of trying in vain, Bol finally got a mini cuddly toy from a grabbing machine at the fair in his hometown of Castricum last year. I was your fork, and although I knew that the rule of randomness was great, I immediately felt like I had earned that hug. The fact that people who have the same talent and try as hard as they do always have the same success in itself is nothing new. The idea that structural happiness exists is really a foundation of sociology, says Bol. This is called the birth lottery. You have no influence whatsoever on where you are born, which country you are, or which family, and this incredible influence on where you end up. But what socialists have not yet paid enough attention to, he says, is the way in which a good ticket in the lottery can create new opportunities and compensate for some bad luck. The interaction between structural and everyday randomness. An example? Someone can say I was just lucky that I met so-and-so at a party and that I was allowed to do an internship with him for a year and a half that determined my career. Parties are not accessible to everyone, and you must have a certain bank account to be able to do an internship for a year and a half for little or no compensation. This may sound logical, but it is important to continue researching these types of effects in all kinds of domains. He discovered that the careers of scientists diverge enormously if they either receive or miss out on an important grant at the start of their career. The assessment they received for that subsidy may differ from a 10th or a 100th, which is negligible, but that determines whether they become a winner or a loser in science. Bol will now investigate the effect of dividing students into groups in the classroom or not, based on learning level. Not all teachers do that, and does that have an effect on how you continue to learn? If you know what has what effect, you can manage accordingly. He also conducts research into the dynamics of inequality in large, anonymized databases. Bol was born on Texel, which is a northern small island north of the Netherlands. His parents did not study. My father worked on an assisted living institution for the mentally handicapped in Den Burg, and my mother was a secretary at the NIOZ Research Institute. Later she became a lab assistant. When he came to university, he had no idea what was happening there. He says, "I wondered why a certain teacher was not a professor because he taught very well, didn't he?" Bol did not know that research is also conducted at the university, and that whether someone becomes a professor mainly depends on what research they're doing. But because of the cultural capital that I received, I was able to participate effectively, he says. We had the VPRO guide at home, we watched Villa Achterwerk, and often went to the other side, as we call it in Texel, to museums, to youth theater in Amsterdam. I came from a real middle-class family. I knew there were more options in life than continuing to live on in Texel. On average, says Bol, the education level of parents is the most important predictor of their child's success. More important than income, this is partly due to genetic factors. If your parents are intelligent, you have a higher chance of being intelligent yourself. But it also because your parents can help you, because they know that school is important, because they understand that the Dutch education system, and because you receive a set of skills from parents who can navigate certain environments. And by success, you mean things like money and status? Yes, you can say that doesn't matter. It's about being happy, but a carefree life, things like good income and home are important. And a good diploma is the ticket to such a carefree life. Those who have completed university earn on average almost twice as much as someone with an MBO. MBO is almost like a trade school degree or an associate's degree, right? You're gonna gain way more money if you go actually to university. So, some groups of people have structural advantage and actually work to maintain them. That almost sounds like it's a malicious intent. Of course, that is not the case. But the university used to be for elite, and is no longer for the elite. Now you can see categories emerging that are most elitist. English language university colleges, research masters, honors programs, and extra subjects. I'm doing a double major because I can afford to pay for it. Woohoo! I'm going to be so much smarter than you. They're also reminded of collective outrage over Nepo babies phenomenon a few years ago. Children of famous parents who achieved success in the same profession. Nepotism was the idea. I gave a lecture about that. There are countless examples of this in Hollywood, such as actress Maya Hawke, daughter of Ethan Hawke, and Uma Thurman. There's a certain discomfort among those children. They don't want people to think their success comes only because of their parents. I love how Maya Hawke is becoming like the poster child of Nepo babies. I guess because she's proud, she's like not proud of it, but she's not hiding it. They don't want people to think their success only comes from their parents, so they will explain that they have worked hard for it. Others with the same talent and dedication are not lucky enough to be born in a famous family. And as Hollywood actress, you naturally earn more than, for example, a bus driver. But this is a very long interview that goes very, very long, but I think we got the kind of premise of what he's saying, you know? People can become increasingly aware of how important education is, the unequal outcomes associated with it, as in pre-university education advice and pre-vocational secondary education, and the idea that success can be achieved has come to life in policy. A prime minister who says to applicants you are discriminated against, then you have to work a little harder, and you have to fight back, according to Mark Rutte, who was the prime minister, and he said that in 2015. Is there enough success for everyone? Well, not everyone can be a winner, because in order to be a winner, there has to be some losers. And unfortunately, it's nice to think that if you try hard enough and work hard enough, you can get out of poverty and not be homeless, but society has to give you that chance to begin with. It's not something that is addressed in the new coalition agreement, but his point is it's not to take a political position. This is simply a story of how based on his research. It's not that the political position fuels any of the research, it's the other way around. He's hoping that his research will influence political position. Thijs Bol, born in 1985, in Texel, studied sociology at the University of Amsterdam. As a side job, he sold cold coffee and tea to students and faculty staff. In that coffee corner as a teacher, he asked him if he'd ever thought about teaching. So no. 2 weeks later, Bol gave his first working group. He received his PhD in 2013, and last month he gave his inaugural speech as professor of sociology in the University van Amsterdam. That's my alma mater, as they say. I went to school there for 4 years. I did not study sociology. I went more for culture, but which is why I do culture segments on this show. And let's go ahead and go into this day in history, unless you have any other. I'm sure you agree with his statements.
Oh, no.
It's a lottery out there, baby.
Right, it is. And, well, did you get my clip?
Yes.
You can just start from the beginning. Okay, you start from the beginning and just cut it off whenever. All right, and it's covered in our This Day in Music, because This Day in History didn't have anything good. This day in history, on 3023 BC, the king of Macedonia, Alexander the Great, died in Babylon. In 1865, Irish poet and dramatist William Butler Yeats was born. He's one of the greatest English language poets of the 20th century and winner of the 1923 Nobel Prize for Literature. In 1878, the Congress of Berlin met to sign the Treaty of Berlin to replace the Treaty of San Stefano, which had been signed by Russia and Turkey in March 3rd of 1878, at the conclusion of the last of the Russo-Turkish Wars. How do you know it's the last of them? Maybe there'll be another one in 50 years or something. Probably not, but at the conclusion of the Russo-Turkish Wars, that was in 1878. 1886, Louis II, the eccentric monarch of Bavaria, died at the age of 40. His mania for extravagant building projects led in part to his nickname, Mad King Ludwig. So Mad King Ludwig died at the age of 40, quite young. 1897, Finnish track athlete Paavo Nurmi, who dominated long-distance running, was born. He won 3 medals in 3 Olympic Games, capturing 9 total in 1920, 24, and 28. 1913, Hudson Stuck and Harry Karstens led a mountaineering party to the South Peak, the true summit of Mount McKinley, becoming the first people to ascend North America's highest peak, which is now called Denali. Well, it was called Denali before it was Mount McKinley. Now it's back to being called Denali. And the guy's name was Hudson Stuck. What does Hudson Stuck do when he gets stuck in the mountains?
I don't know. What did he do?
1966, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of Ernesto Miranda in the Miranda versus Arizona. If you wonder where your Miranda rights came from, and every TV show, they read the guy's rights. You have the right to remain silent if you choose whatever. You have a right to attorney, that thing. I don't know the thing. I never had to repeat it. But it's things that cops were forced to read to people they were arresting, like right after this ruling. So it affirmed that the Constitution guarantees the right against self-incrimination. In other words, when the cops arrest you, keep your mouth shut. Everything you say can be used against you, and believe me, they will use anything against you. Their job depends on it, right? They've arrested you. Now they have to come up with a reason why they arrested you, which is not always easy. So they have to read you your rights, keep your mouth shut, or they will give a reason for arresting you. Oh, he said this and he said that. Oh, okay. Don't incriminate yourself. You don't know what you're saying that might incriminate yourself.
Yep.
Zip it. You got a lawyer. Let him talk to the cops. 1967, Thurgood Marshall was nominated as Justice to the U.S. Supreme Court by Lyndon B. Johnson. He became the court's first African-American member. 1967, we desegregated the Supreme Court with Thurgood Marshall, the honorable man who was replaced by Clarence Thomas, the grifter. And that's all Clarence Thomas is. He's not a justice. He's not a judge. He's not there to do anything else but line his pockets. If you go over his entire career, Clarence Thomas has basically done nothing in the Supreme Court until his mentor, Scalia, died. Antonin Scalia died a few years ago. And all of a sudden, Clarence Thomas got more vocal. But before that, he did nothing. Nothing at all. You can look it up. Wrote no opinions. Nothing. Just a lot of times just sat there and didn't ask any questions. 1971, the New York Times began publishing the Pentagon Papers, a series of articles based on a study of the U.S. role in Indochina for World War II until May 1968. Papers added to the growing opposition to the Vietnam War. Eventually, the Pentagon Papers, which were leaked by Daniel Ellsworth, that got tied up in a Watergate because that's what they were trying to find, was papers to find dirt on Daniel Ellsworth. They even broke into his psychiatrist's office. 1982, following the death of half-brother Khalid Fahd, Fahd became the king of Saudi Arabia, overseeing the period of modernization of the country. Is that what he did? 2005, after a 14-week trial that became a media circus, American pop singer Michael Jackson was acquitted. I can do it better. American pop singer Michael Jackson was acquitted of child molesting charges. Acquitted he was. Of course, he settled out of court with a bunch of people for the same type of thing. 2023, Donald Trump became the first former U.S. president to be charged with federal crimes, and defendant J. Trump was found guilty just the other day in a state court. This is the one in Miami, where he pleaded guilty to 37 felony charges that related to his illegal mishandling of classified documents, which again, this probably should have been charged a year earlier, at least, and probably in a different district with a different judge. Yeah. Department of Justice is totally screwing up this prosecution. Should have been brought a long time ago. Here we are just waiting it out. Whatever. So yeah, he's arrested, didn't accomplish anything because he's just basically going to get away with it because the Department of Justice is incompetent. They just don't care about prosecuting this guy. Mm-hmm. Oh, they'll prosecute other people. Yeah, they have no interest in prosecuting this piece of shit. I have no idea why. Okay. On this day, a featured event, historic meeting between North and South Korean leaders. On this day in 2000, South Korean President Kim Dae-jung met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-il in a summit that marked the first meeting between the two heads of the two countries, helping earn Kim Dae-jung the Nobel Peace Prize. They were about to give it to the North Koreans for subjugating their people and keeping them in bondage. I hope not, anyway. There's no real nothing really came of that. So there you are. It was 2000, 24 years ago. Nothing really came of it. 1868, we already did other birthdays. Feature biography. Okay. Christo, environmental sculptor, who was born and no birthday and no death day, and that's it. No information on him. Well, that's good. Just a picture of one of his sculptures, which is cool. Other birthdays, Basil Rathbone, British actor who played Sherlock Holmes, born in 1892. 1928 is the birthday of Li Ka-shing, Chinese entrepreneur and philanthropist. In 1928 is the birthday of American mathematician John Nash, not the reggae singer Johnny Nash, but John Nash. Now, Johnny Nash sang, "I can see clearly now the rain has gone. I can see all obstacles in my way." I'm just going to sing now. Sorry for not warning you at first. 1944, Ban Ki-moon, South Korean statesman and Secretary General of the United Nations, was born. So happy birthday to him. And not a whole lot of super famous people today, June 13th. This day in music, Mick Taylor joined the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones had fired Brian Jones. And Brian Jones, which rhymes with the Rolling Stones, which was a perfect marriage if you ask me, but they fired him because he was not contributing anything and he was kind of being rude and obnoxious. And about 10 days after he was fired, he drowned himself in a swimming pool. Well, Mick Taylor replaced him. Didn't really replace him, but because Brian Jones played a lot of stuff. But Mick Taylor played a 12-string electric guitar and gave the Rolling Stones that kick-ass sound they had ever since. So even when Mick Taylor left, they replaced him with Ron Wood, who was a rocker. So what day is it? What day is it? It is National Weed Your Garden Day, National Sewing Machine Day. If you love to sew, it's your day.
Huh.
It's National Kitchen Clutches of America. Kitchen Klutzes of America. A klutz is a person who drops things and bumps things and knocks things over. Probably because they're blind or they're uncoordinated or whatever.
For me, it's because I'm blind.
National
okay, I
Kitchen
swear it's because I'm blind. I didn't see it
You're
there.
always dropping stuff on the floor. Yeah, right. Burning stuff. Oh, you burned it. Ah! It's National Random Acts of Light Day. Random Acts of Light, huh? Okay, I'm sure that's.
I mean, we just talked about the randomness of success,
something.
so light is also very random.
Well, we can read up on it. Oftentimes, it takes just one gentle word or small token to help overcome darkness. On June 13th, National Random Acts of Light Day encourages us to bring light to the darkness of cancer by surprising someone with an act of kindness. So it's about bringing light to somebody who is suffering some awful thing that's going on in their body they don't understand. So there's your National Day of Light, which is always a good thing. You should do this every day anyway. It's National Golf Cart Day. There you go. Take somebody for a golf cart ride. That'll give them a little fun. Going blazing 7 miles an hour down the road. Whee! Drag your feet even, right? Because you're not going to get hurt. But as your days for today, which is, I guess there's no food involved with today, unfortunately. It's all just National Career Nurse Assistance Day also. It's the first day of National Nursing Assistance Week. So that's what also today. Why would today be the first day of the week? It's Thursday. So it's National Career Nurse Assistance Day. That's one I almost missed. So there's your days for today.
People who are nurse assistants and don't do it for a job, I guess.
Yeah, Career Nurse Assistance Day. Why is the career part in there? Just not doing it for fun. Okay, got it. Those are your dates for today on June 13th, 2024 on Before Sewing Machines and Golf Carts.
Okay. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands, one of the top 10 countries of GDP or whatever. We'll get to one day the US. I think it's pretty impressive for such a small country of only 7 million people to be number 10. And I mean, of course, Brunei has way less than that. I think so. We will see you tomorrow for the Friday news dump, where we'll talk about everything we haven't talked about today. And please take care out there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you know when we go live and when we post the recording of this episode. If you missed the live show, you can always see it where we edit down everything. Well, I don't really edit it that much, but we'll see you tomorrow. Take care out there. And here is your mic drop moment. Look at this dude. I started at the lady like trying to crawl on the stage. She's like freaking climbing up this 10-foot barrier, trying to grab his hand.
Yeah, this is Mick Taylor's first gig with the Stones. Hyde Park, mate. Hyde Park.
These women are crawling all over him just to touch him. He's just like, I'm gonna just
I
hit
don't
the
know where you are in
camera.
a bit.
Oh, there's those moves that he's doing. They're going after him. They're gonna get his legs.
Meg Taylor's the one with the kind of frizzy, not dark hair.
Yeah.
They don't show him very much, but he's playing a 12 string, looks like.
He's just like, what the hell is going on, man? Why is this happening right
What?
now? No, let me on stage. I'm also in the band. I didn't know where backstage was.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.